Howdy healers, welcome to Zero to KSM Hero, a series where I'll be attempting the Keystone Master Challenge in patch 9.1.5 on a brand new healer. The rules are simple. For the Alliance, least favored healer, least popular covenant, only moderate help from main character allowed, no linking raid or IO to main character, hugging only, and finally the challenge must be finished before posting the first video to avoid any external help or assistance, and of course for the sake of integrity. Hello everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to jump into a couple more dungeons, and we have some stuff to talk about. So, starting off, this is an 8 DOS that I got, like an immediate invite to. I have no idea who these people are. But as always, the first pull is very, very much determinant of how the dungeon is going to go. So, I'm always interested in how this first pull is going to go. But so far, it's been, I mean, obviously, like, people are taking a lot of damage, but that's pretty usual. So far, nobody's died, so that's about as much as you can hope for. However, one thing worth noting about this group is I know that at least the second warrior, Steve here, is a KSM player already. So, like, he's probably higher eye level and ready to stomp this dungeon. I don't know why he's here. Maybe just looking for something for the vault. An extra chance at loot or something. This was recorded on 12/30/21, so the day before New Year's Eve. So, anyway, this pool went extremely fast. Now, you notice I did get something to drink, but I didn't sit too long because, like, obviously they're going to want to pull up here. So, I do try to sip just a little before I come up here because I don't think they're going to wait for me. And as suspected, they didn't wait for me. This pull is also notoriously tough. If the first one isn't bad enough, this one's usually pretty bad. If only the tank is taking damage, it's not that bad because, like, of course, your single target healing it can be, like, insane. Alright, so the priest got flung off the cliff. So, you know, rip to them, but we're different. Alright, so everybody's like super nice about it. You know, nobody's mean because somebody fell off the cliff. Not that that's like a high, like, it feels like it's not a high bar, but like depends on the group, man. We've seen some special people, but most of the people we've run into have been pretty, you know, nice, so. Alright, so we did pretty good here. Those stupid, serpents are out. Well, one of them is. But for the most part, it's not that bad. And the DPS are trying to, like, get out of the stuff on the ground. We do have a couple interrupts going out, which is better than nothing. I guess I figure this time is the time to start DPSing. So, what I'm hoping for at this point is that this is going to be a fast run. I realized at this point that, like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to put, you know, Mystic Touch up. So I did do that. Just like as like a little bonus, like a little hint there to the range. Like, don't stand on top of those guys that do whirlwind or whatever. And then I'm an idiot and stood too close to these spirits and just immediately got procced by cheat death, which this is definitely a case of cheat death being extremely helpful By the time I get up here, there's no point in clicking the urn, so I'm just gonna wait and see if they pull those mobs back so that I can click. What I should have done is said bring next group back. I'll click urn or something so that they know that they have a Night Fae in the group, because they may not realize that they have a Night Fae. And they definitely don't realize that they have a Night Fae. So, I mean, some warriors are Night Fae, but a lot of them are obviously Kyrian. So, I mean, you see our boy Braun or Brom, the Goliath. I don't know what his I don't know his name because I've never finished the Kyrian campaign. I'm that bad of a person. So we're doing pretty good. Pro tip is definitely get up here like as they're dying so that you can avoid the stupid spirits. I've gotten stuck back there by spirits enough times that, you know, it wasn't fun. Alright, so I'm like trying to quickly drink. They could definitely be pulling right now. Yep. No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm almost full. The first thing I should be doing is that. There we go. I got Mystic Touch up on the boss. Just because we have all of these warriors, it feels like we'd be stupid not to. This boss is like absolutely melting. And like looking at our DPS, like we definitely have some good DPS. Want to be careful with this disease so that it doesn't get spread to other players. Alright, so we're making good time. While we're traveling, while we're playing the game, let's talk about updates to not to the channel necessarily, but just like updates in general. So if I continue to do 2 full-length episodes per like episode that I release, like 2 full-length dungeons per episode, we'll go with that. If I continue to do that, we're gonna have like the bare minimum is gonna be like 45 episodes of this. So I'm thinking what I need to do is actually start cutting that, like paring them back and showing like maybe the highlights of each dungeon or something. The problem is that the more that I have to like cut and trim the episodes, like the more work that is for me, the harder that is to actually get a video out in time. Because like right now I'm just trimming them back to like the actual dungeon mostly, because I realized that like keeping LFG in there is no longer useful to the group or to the I don't know, to like we'll say the content of the video, just because like we all know what it's like in the group finder now. It's a giant hassle. So my thought process is I probably should be trimming those up, but I don't really know like exactly how I'm gonna do that, because there are plenty of these dungeons where like nothing specifically interesting happens, and it's like, okay, but do I just I don't want to cut the whole episode out. That seems kind of silly. So it'll be an experience for me to try to figure this out. That said, the next episode is going to begin New Year's Eve. And I'm not doing a New Year's Eve special per se. It's more like I do have a segment that's gonna end up in a mega episode. It's not gonna be like 10 hours long or anything. But I had New Year's Eve off from work, and therefore did a lot of dungeons. So, like literally all day, that's all I did was dungeons. Like I had the free time to just spam dungeons. So, I'm gonna have like a bunch of them that are in the like, 8 to 12 range, that it's like, okay, but do I keep full length videos? Like, do I bother with that? Like full length dungeons? So I'll be thinking about that, and you guys are obviously very free to be thinking about that as well. If you want me to keep doing the full length ones, by all means, I'll keep doing them. Just be aware that the series is going to go on for like forever, because I think total I have, how many was it? Total I have something like 93 Mythic Plus dungeons to get to KSM. So, like, obviously I didn't need all of them, and it do be like that. I went very slow. You already know that though, just by watching the beginning parts. Like, if I was running my own key the way that others did, like, for example, Growl just wrapped up his series the other day, and I'm not done watching it yet, but I do know his pattern, because like the first day his was out, I looked his character up on Raider.io along with my coworker. We were both just spying. Um, just to get an idea of like how many dungeons he did, and like how fast he like ascended the ranks, more or less. And he went very fast. Like, your average person is maybe not going to get to KSM that fast, just because either their skill level doesn't allow it, which is probably the biggest hurdle, right? Or their eye level doesn't allow it. So you have to get somewhat, we'll say somewhat lucky with with gear in the game to feel really good about that. So I it's one of those things where like he went really fast and I did like completely the opposite. Even then he had a lot of episodes, but I'll have like way more. Like triple, almost triple maybe. More than 50. Um Also, we're back to my favorite part of this dungeon. Where I die because I jumped right like at the worst time. I was gonna wait for a res, but then I was like, the other guy released, so I'm gonna run back. And I didn't get stuck on the side of the platform. I didn't know it at the time, but the lubricators, when they start lubrication, you can't jump. So it hit me right while I was jumping, and I wasn't able to, like, get in there. Alright, so step 1 here. He'll team up quickly.
I don't have a target.
Alright, so here's somebody informing me. So I guess this counts for a bingo of somebody learning something, because I definitely didn't know that. I think my reasoning was like, usually when the lubricator is lubricating, I'm suffering and my team is suffering, so I'm just standing still casting heals. So it had never really happened that it started to cast as I jumped before, let alone got me killed, so I never really thought that deeply about it, but here we are. Alright, so anyway.
That dusty old Loa has sent
I've gotta figure out what to do about these videos. Just because, again, I feel like even though, like, I had to probably take the long route, my other option would be to do just, like, grounded and end up running my own key. I feel like that becomes really, really popular. I don't want to say popular, that doesn't really make sense. But, like, in Nasom's videos as well, eye level dictated what they were able to actually run. So it was one of those things where their eye level is like, people don't want to invite them unless they have to. The reason that I get invited to these groups is almost exclusively because people just need a healer that bad, right? That they're willing to take a risk on me. Right, so we're like literally melting this boss right now, which I love to see because I hate this boss. And we're getting kind of lucky with people. If it's not me doing it, like, obviously I'm trying, but the DPS are also probably trying to click on these squirrel bombs. So, like, we're doing great. So, with this boss down, it's time to boogie. I mean, we are hauling ass in this dungeon.
Now ain't that sweet? Old one Sambi had his share of romance back in the day. More than his share.
Alright, so anyway, I'll be thinking about it. So if you guys come up with like a way that you think it should be edited or not edited, I guess just let me know. I'm a bit lost on this. Obviously haven't really done it before, so this is all kind of new to me.
All that blood, how they were gonna. We don't need worshippers.
I think now that I've done this and I've had to edit the videos, I feel like I'm much more aware now of how much more efficient I could have been at doing this, but I don't know that I would recommend people be more efficient when they're like struggling to learn. Does that make sense? Because, like, yeah, I could have been much more efficient at figuring this out and getting KSM faster without, like, doing as many dungeons. But, well, that was close. Anyway, but I didn't really have the skill. So, like, in the case of Growl, especially Growl, who basically, like, mains a shaman, or, I mean, he mains, like, every healer, right? But who pretty much already mains a shaman. It's like, yes, he already has the skill to be able to do that. And I'm coming into this with, like, literally zero skill. So, so for me to, like, try to run and do keys, like Growl did in his most recent video, it's like a mega episode, right? Where he's got, like, all the last dungeons that he did to get to KSM in, like, one big video. But his, like, ramp up to the end is just this one. I mean, granted, it's a really long episode, but mine would have been, like, 15 hours long or some crazy crap, because I was out here even after doing 15s and 16s, doing 14s and 12s. But my reason was, with the way that the Mythic Plus scoring system works, you don't really want any key to sit, like, at a low level, so it's better to boost it up wherever you can, just for the sake of having the higher score. So that's my reasoning for that. But, like, Growl doesn't do that. He's running his own key because well, he has the skill level to heal. Even if his eye level is low, he still has the skill to heal it, right? So
Far away.
that's, I mean, that's something. If you have the skill, you can probably push yourself to like the limit or whatever. But I didn't have that at the start of this, and I didn't have it at this point either. I'm definitely like, even in this run, doing things like holding onto Cocoon when I don't need to. Um, I could absolutely have Cocoon the tank here, for example, and let them run around to collect things. Oh. So, I mean, it's an 8, so like while it's timed, there's no mini bosses or anything to worry about. And I'm starting to get impatient, I guess. Like, so I'm DPSing. This is definitely a place where you don't want to get stuck not being able to get behind the pillar if necessary. We have good DPS though, so I'm not really that worried about it. Alright, so I Ring of Peace, the inspiring mob, just to like try to get my team a little bit of a break, damage-wise.
It's too far away.
I'm barely contributing to damage, but you know what? It's still better than nothing. I keep like hovering over these mobs because I'm used to looting. And also, I think it's worth noting that while I did this challenge, I basically didn't play any other characters. I I didn't log into my auction house character and post auctions very often. I didn't like I didn't do anything. Yeah, this is looking not the best. I just want them to bring the fucking guys closer, but at least I used Cocoon on myself. So like a big pat on the back to me for that, I guess. And we did like just barely stun this, so whatever. I'm like running very low on mana here. This definitely dragged out like way longer because it was like one of those.
I'm out of range.
How do I put it? Like, I don't think the tank is bad or anything. It's just that your positioning and things like that are pretty important. And like they didn't seem to realize that I am Night Fae. And if they had known, they could have taken advantage of that positioning by the pillar there, but I don't think they realized. So I was a little slow on healing the warrior, which is unfortunate because he's definitely our like best geared DPS. I think freelance Dion there is pretty well geared as well, but not as much as Steven. So like we really wanted to you really want to try as hard as you can to keep your best DPS alive. Time to res this guy. I take this time to just let them sleep while I drink. The price of being a god is pulling mad aggro, yeah. Yeah, I don't blame the Fury Warrior for pulling aggro. And normally, it's not hard to heal if I expect it. But, like, a Fury Warrior that's in the middle of blasting isn't very likely to, like, use Ignore Pain, right? So, there's that. Alright, full mana, ready for this fight. Some people hate this fight. They say that it's, like, really hard. And I want to dispel him, but he's too far back up there, and he's out of line of sight. Anyway, he's just gonna have to sleep it off, I guess. Anyway, some people hate this fight, but, like, so long as the arcing lightning stays the hell away from me, I think this fight's pretty easy. It might be, like, Mistweaver benefits, though. If you are a druid, by the way, when you jump into that, you should go into cat form if you can, if you have time. Just because when you land as a cat, you won't take any damage.
Care to give this one a try? I would step lightly if I were you.
Yeah, so, like, not that this fight isn't hard. Like, obviously on a 15, this fight was a little bit scary, but if people take the displacement traps or whatever, then it's not that bad. And especially if they're a class that can, like, slow fall or whatever, having that option to take, like, 0 damage is pretty nice. And we end the fight with everybody at basically full health, so that feels really good. Like, and immediately people are claiming their
You best be keeping an eye on them.
spot.
Now hurry back with my mojo.
So we have back and back left, front left, and back right all claimed. And of course, me, the healer, will be going with the tank. If I was a god, for example, I could do anything. I could go with the, or if the tank was. Yeah, so the options become, depending very heavily on gear, I think, can depend on where they want you to go. So, like, if the paladin in this case, for example, can do tons of damage, they might want me to go with, say, the Shadow Priest because they're the lowest damage person in the group. But no, this paladin wants me to go with them, which is normally the expected. But I've had a couple of tanks that didn't want me to go with them.
Maybe you've been skulking in the shadows for too long. Come on now, heroes. Bring the mojo back and help me put this whole lower in place.
Alright, grabbing a sip here. It's not a lot, but it's something. This is the fight that I hate the most. Bar none in this place. Monk is OP here, just being able to roll back and forth out of danger. I have lots of options here for healing. What I really want here is to be able to heal everybody before they have to jump in the portal, because once they're in their portal, there's no saving them. I get seated here because I stood in stuff. There was like an overlap of one of the circles was like right on me. I'm about to just die. Yep. Cringe. This is 100% healer dies to something stupid.
Yet, old Loa, there be no escaping death.
But it's fine. The group's got it. Multiple stacks of Grievous. And we plus 2'd it, so you know.
Times change, man. Mortals never be as weak as you believe them to be. You see, they have potential.
Alright, so we got some thanks alls from people. It was just nice that it was timed. It sounds dumb, but like at this point in the game, like still timing them feels pretty good, so.
But what Mozala got coming,
Paladin gets IQD, and I'm like, ooh, IQD.
take your trinkets and be gone with ya. That be some big talk one Sunday.
And then they're immediately like, does anybody want this? And I'm like, yes, I do.
Watch your tongue, little thing. One Sunday, the boss man now.
Cause I have a 184. And so I get this beautiful, luxurious IQD. 226. So like honestly a massive upgrade. So thanks to Paladin here who gave us a sweet trinket when we needed it. Nice heals for your eye level. You know what? I'll take it. That's a nice heals compliment. For your eye level on it is like, nah, I mean, yeah, they're right though. Because if I had a high eye level and I would be able to heal through more, right? So I'm like trying to be wholesome about it. And like complimenting their tanking. Because like they weren't like super high on the healing done. There is healing done, but they weren't ridiculously high on it. But they also weren't really hard to heal, so we'll take it. So yay, that was that one. On to the next one. And here we are in a Spires 11 that I got invited to because they very badly needed a healer. And sometimes healers are hard to find. Alright, so it is Inspiring Week, and I'm struggling to put my statue down because, like, no path available for whatever reason. There we go. So we have a Windwalker. I don't need to put Mystic Touch up, but since this is a small pool, it feels okay to just, like, at least contribute to the damage a little bit. And also, if you're not aware of how damage works in this dungeon, this first hallway here is by far the worst part of the entire dungeon, in my opinion. Oh, I take it back. The skirmishers kind of suck too, but these guys really suck. So I went and got a weak aura for IQD so that it tells me what it will do. Right now, it's just going to give me, I don't know, a stat. But what I am wanting to use it for is 100% for the execute, and that's, I'm not going to say exclusively why I use it, but it's nice to have some way to contribute to damage that, you know, isn't awful. Anyway, this group right here kind of cemented into my mind that, like, doing small pulls here is totally fine, actually, especially on fortified weeks, and what it does is it, like, I don't know how to put this, like, it keeps me from going insane. I've seen some tanks pull like the whole first hallway practically together, and it's just a disaster with all the dots that go out and the lack of kicks. And like you can see how many kicks are happening in this dungeon. There's a ton of them. We've got 9. No, wait. Yeah, 9 kicks already. Which is incredible for like an 11. Because you'll see like 15s that have like 3 kicks at the end of the dungeon. So this felt really good because of the kicks and because it just works out. Alright. On we go. I take the opportunity to drink even though it's not that big of a deal. So far, it seems pretty smooth. Kicks have fallen off, however. On the plus side, because there is a Windwalker, I don't have to worry about putting Mystic Touch up, so... Take the Angel and hope that I regenerate my mana enough by the time we land.
And yet all this time it was you who led the Forsworn. Your blind adherence.
I actually don't get frame rate problems in here, unless I'm playing with Oceanic folks. Then it's really bad. Like, having played with Oceanic teams here and in Sanguine Depths, like, it's worse here. Alright, so now that we're doing another 10 or higher, we have the mini-bosses. So stack for the Fear, and then get out for the Sever. Or Carnage, I guess it's called. So, Carnage just a lot of damage, like a bleed. If you're a Kyrian, I think you can use your file on it, but I don't know. We obliterated him, so... I'm gonna take the sweet mana power. Alright, this is another relatively difficult pull, mostly because of the Dark Lash is the Burden of Knowledge. I was able to CC him, just because he was just far enough away. And normally I wouldn't want to, like normally I would just push him over there, but, I don't know. I was like, nobody's attacking him anyway, so might as well. We have a couple more interrupts now, but like not as many as I would expect. And also like the Fury Warrior's doing most of it, even though we have 2 more melee DPS in the group. So like I do expect some serious interrupts from melee DPS, especially multiple of them. I had one guy in a group complain that he had a cooldown on his interrupt. He was a Fury Warrior, and I was like, rip to that guy, by the way. And I was like, yeah, you have a cooldown on your interrupt, but like, you have one of the best interrupts in the game. Shut up. This is where somebody's standing around the corner there was put them out of line of sight of me.
Your doom takes flight.
There's really not a reason not to like not to do a little damage here on the bird. I say the bird, the wind serpent, I guess. This boss is normally pretty easy. I think with all the melee, it's probably like a little much of a cluster right now for them. But they should all just be behind the bird or the wind serpent. I should have dispelled the Windwalker and then used diffuse magic to dispel myself. But I failed to do that. Now he's in execute range, so I can definitely use IQD to execute. Alright, I'm drinking. At this key level, it's kind of hard to tell what a tank is going to do. Like, the play is to bring the mobs down here, but, like, that isn't always what happens. Now he's at the top of the stairs. I do hate these mobs. They're very, very annoying. But with competent DPS, they do go down pretty quick. I definitely dispelled that too soon. Should have waited till he had a few stacks and then dispelled it. Would have bought him some time where he didn't have any. Alright, on we go. We're going a little bit slow so far, but nothing unreasonable. The key with these guys is don't look away from the tank for too long because, my god, the bleed that these little cats put on them can be intense. And the tank seems to be taking, like, most tanks pull like all six together. This tank's doing separate pulls. It's not always the best idea, like time-wise, to do smaller pulls, but depending on the limits of your group, it might be smart. What in the world are they doing? This is definitely not the usual strat, so they decided to come back this way. We didn't have enough of the skirmishers, so the tank was like, I think we need some more practice with those, actually. Man, I'm tired. Haven't had enough coffee yet. This is where, like, this entire pool is just like, why are we doing this? There needs to be, like, a really good reason. Because time-wise, this took a while. Alright, so I wasn't the only one sitting down to eat, so we have that.
The Kyrian must stand united.
Not so long as you command them. The Forsworn will forge a new path.
Alright, this time I didn't dispel immediately, so that helped in terms of, like, the amount of damage taken. And here we have a fun pool. So we have a skirmisher here, which does the hurling damage, which is super annoying. We have a stealth claw that puts a bleed on the tank. We have dots going out on our DPS. And for some reason, the squad leader is like one of the last to die, but it is what it is, folks. You're the healer. You don't get a say in what dies first. You just heal. Alright, so we're managing it. We're managing it. Tank isn't trusting, right? Just in case there's any more stealth claws. He's gonna get them, that's for sure.
For eons, we have been told to purify ourselves, to let go of our memories, our identities, our loved ones, all in the name of service. But what do we serve? An impotent arbiter, an oppressive law. Our sacrifices were made for nothing.
Alright. I'm already, like, not using IQD as often as I should. Just the execute on it is pretty useful. So here we come up to the pool from hell, where I'm gonna frickin' drink. Alright, and the tank does not want to pull these two together. So he's pulling these back. Probably a smart choice. I did dispel a little quickly. Maybe should have waited another second, but it doesn't seem to matter because The Ret Paladin took one of the Venom casts. We do have interrupts out, so people, like, so they're trying. These guys got pulled. I'm just, like, using everything. I for some reason thought that was Fort Brew, not Leg Sweep, so I used it. So this is my last-ditch effort to try to, like, get everybody healed. But what I should have done is do enveloping on Arizona here to help make Yulon worth my time. And then he's dead. It's just us and the Windwalker alive. I do use a mana pot because, you know, I don't trust like that. I would have rather had the Fury Warrior stay alive, so, like, in hindsight, that's something that I could have definitely done to, like, make this experience less bad. I could have dispelled the Fury Warrior instead of the Windwalker. So now it's just me in the tank, and I'm running on fumes. Need to gather up some mana. That'll help a little bit. We have some DPS that are back. And really, the Windwalker should have ran back too, since the other two ran back. Arizona just dies immediately. I'm definitely way more concerned with keeping the tank alive. If Yulon again. The problem with Yulon here is that I don't have a lot of mana, so Yulon's not going to be doing a whole lot. But I don't think I'd realized it 100% at this point. Like, I have nothing. I have nothing. I need to gather my orbs. Luckily, the DPS are like... Or I'd say they were trying to pay attention to, like, the amount of mana that I had. So Arizona's back again. This was definitely a... We should have just wiped it up and all ran back. Because this is taking forever. Like, we've been here for a while. And I'm not... The truly frustrating part is that then a rebellious fist goes off. Like, you're telling me none of you had an interrupt? Alright, so we made it, but, like, barely. And that sucked. This was... Yeah. Yeah, I was struggling, because I was like, man, one wrong move, and we won't live. But, in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have tried that hard to save it. Should have just let us die. I mean, easier said than done, right? It's easy to just be like, ah, whatever, but... I don't know anybody that likes the trash in this dungeon, by the way. I think in hindsight, like, after doing all the dungeons a whole bunch, and I do mean a whole bunch, because I did not get KSM quickly, if I was going to say which one I was afraid of to start with that I'm not afraid of now, like, probably Sanguine Depths, not as afraid of that one, and The Other Side, not as afraid of that one, and also Theater of Pain isn't, still don't love it, but it isn't as bad as I thought it was when I started out, and now I just kind of hate Spires. It's bright, there's angels everywhere, and like, they only carry you back and forth, they aren't even helping you, like, kill the mini-bosses or anything. Like, what kind of BS is that, actually? Alright, so this is a strat that a lot of people use, which is they were resetting the boss so that the platform would be clear to do the mini-boss that was here. Sometimes it wasn't necessary, but I was definitely in a couple of groups where it was like, yeah, you definitely don't want the boss wandering over to you.
Take the beast's power.
Happily. I will happily take it. Alright, now for my least favorite boss in the game. I take that back. The one in Sanguine Depths that does the castigate's worse, probably. So if you're paying attention, you can definitely, like, use Fort Brew, or, yeah, probably just Fort Brew on that bleed or whatever that the boss puts on you. But my timing isn't that good. Anyway, the tank put the orbs pretty close together, so it's not too bad. This is where I would hate to be a melee DPS, just because, like, I think it is hard to see. And these things do a lot of damage. Like, they do enough damage, I was worried. And popped Yulon. But it didn't last that long, so actually, our damage is really good. What you really want to do is get the orbs on top of each other, because in the interim, the melee DPS can actually see them and move out of the way. But whereas when you put them apart like that, especially while you're still fighting near them, the melee DPS can't see them.
From the shadows, I witness your demise.
I just got lucky, I guess, that where I'm standing is mostly safe. But, like, obviously the higher the key, the worse this is. And the orbs are still throwing people in the air, which is just freaking great. That's the wrong way. We're going the wrong way. We're going the wrong way. I'm just following the other people. Like, yeah, I was suspicious it was the wrong way to begin with, but who am I to tell the tank what to do, right? The orbs are still up here doing damage, which is... It happens a lot, I think. I don't know if it's still happening. I haven't really touched Mythic Plus since doing this series. I did a few after I got Keystone Master, but then I just kind of stopped. I don't think I'm plus 20 material, that's for sure. So I never went further than that. And I don't think I will. So, like, I don't think I'm gonna do a series where I get plus 20. There I go yawning again. Ugh. Well, whatever. Alright, so we lost some time doing that. It's kind of clear at this point that we're not going to be timing it, both because we fought for like 100 hours in that one spot, and then also because we went the wrong way there. But I think definitely fighting in that one spot was the bigger time loss. For the sake of time, would have had to pull these two together, this guy and the incinerator, but that's a very difficult fight to heal, so I'm glad that he didn't do that. My eye level is... I don't even think I'm 230 yet.
A great evil lurks nearby. Expel it with haste.
So I always dispel these guys. I take turns dispelling, just trying to like mitigate the damage that comes out. And also I'm the only ranged, so I'm the one that's kind of baiting. We do have interrupts here, which is thank God. Because what's worse than Rebellious Fist cast going off? This freaking dude. Okay, so we're like... In my opinion, we have plenty of... Yeah, we have plenty of trash count for where we're at. They're just gonna sneak by. Knowing what I know now, there is no way. So, being able to mount on the druid is great. I think that you have to have the mark or whatever to be able to mount on the druid. I think it has to be like... If I'm remembering right. Alright. You can also just use a damn invis pot there, which would have been way faster. But beggars can't be choosers. This is where we should have just be skipping this guy for time, because, I mean, we're not going to time it anyway at this point. It's already too late. Which I think is where the druid is coming from. Like, we're not timing it anyway, so why bother skipping the mini-boss so that we can suffer at the last boss? I don't know why I stood in that, actually.
The creature is slain. Now, claim its power as your own.
I take the faster eating one, even though we're like basically at the end of the dungeon, which I wouldn't do now. I'm more willing to take that if it's like we're at the beginning of the dungeon. For example, in the other side, when that boss was like the first one that you fought, makes it much more worth it.
Your defiance must be punished.
Alright, so I'm trying to stay close to stack.
You must be annihilated.
Nobody got a debuff. That bodes well for us. And I think more importantly, nobody's complaining. The tank seems to not understand the strat here, which is to stack and then run.
The Paragon.
Did get a battle res out, so that's good.
You must be annihilated.
Alright, so we're working on this. Paladin does have an immunity for the boss's like recharge phase. Usually the tank gets it, but I mean, I think when possible it should be the tank. Just because, like, you really want your DPS on the boss while they can. Especially when there's no risk of them, like, dying or anything.
I can still fight.
Alright, up we go.
As I peered into Uther's memories, what I saw shook me to the core. But you refuse to see the truth. That the path is flawed.
Meanwhile, the tank decided we needed more trash count and didn't tell anyone that he was gonna do that. So they're just kind of on their own down there. I mean, it looks like he just pulled a little mob, so it's not that big of a deal, but should have communicated that. It's like a wait after boss or something like that. Trash after boss, another pull after boss. Like, literally, there's so many options of ways to communicate that, like, or even don't pull the boss until you've pulled all the trash in the area, because you know that the first thing people are gonna do is take the angels. Sometimes I do pay more attention to the tank there, but it doesn't really help anymore if it's just me and the tank down there fighting, so, you know, really it's a group effort. Alright, the team's here. I should just be in there, actually doing real damage, but crackling Jade Lightning counts, right? One angel down. 2 to go. These angels are also another pull, or like separate pulls, that I just generally hate. Like, nothing about them is fun. They are awful. Obviously, the longer these dudes are alive, like, the worse. The worse it gets. Alright, one more to go. And we're using the spear here. Which is the way to do it. Just to help get this last guy down a little bit faster. In fact, I would argue it's worth using, you know, if you're DPS, it's worth using cooldowns on him. Just because Devos phase 1 is kind of bleh anyway, and then she's gonna phase, so I'd save cooldowns for phase 2 anyway. But you can see why they use the spear on him. Like, the damage is, like, frustrating to heal through.
Accept your defeat, Archon. I serve a far greater power now.
Alright, so I drank a little bit. With my fast power, it was enough to get back to full. And here we have a tank who actually pulls her back instead of fighting her all the way on the end.
You must be stopped. No matter the cost.
Alright, inside the barrier here. It's all good. With so many melee DPS, it's really frustrating to have the dots, especially because the poor paladin over there like can't do anything about it. But I'd say it's okay to be in melee range. I stood in that because I can't. I'm blind, I guess. That's what I'm gonna go with anyway. One thing I don't want to do is I don't really want to dispel that dot when they are literally standing on the middle pillar. I don't know what I'm doing here. I realized that those are actually my little orbs, so there's that. Not that it hurts to go get my orbs, but
I'm out of range.
and the thing is like, this is pretty smooth. You know what I mean? But we just didn't have the time to beat the timer. I decided to dispel the tank because, I can use diffuse magic here. Actually, I didn't, but I could have. That said, before I dispelled, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't in the way. as a monk who is super mobile, I do my best to get the ones that are furthest away.
The spear! Use it to bring her down!
Alright, now we go. Anyway, we're almost done here, so the only thing I really have to say now is, like, if you did watch the whole thing, I mean, you deserve a cookie, to be honest, or a piece of cake, or whatever you like. But if you have any opinions about the editing, if you think that maybe I should just go ahead and, like, severely cut things out, just let me know, and I'll see what I can do.
Schemes have torn a schism in the ranks.
We got a necklace,
It must be healed.
which is better than what we have, based purely off of the fact that it has a socket, and the one that we have doesn't.
Lives are burdens
So,
to be shed in the name of service.
untimed, but I still got score, so I can't complain too much. Yes, I want my sweet neck. Alright, so quickly to look at our bingo cards here. We don't have anything from Painful Bingo, which I'm just gonna consider as a good thing. Sometimes when you get the untimed ones, the reason is a painful bingo reason, but not in this case. So to go over to Wholesome Bingo, we actually only have good heals as the one that we got for these. Everything else, like, I think I mentioned a couple, like, someone learned something new, but we'd already crossed that one off, so no worries. So yeah, that's where we're at. That's where we're at with our bingo cards. You're seeing, like, a lot of stuff checked off at this point, and, like, knowing that we're only at maybe not even the halfway mark. Yikes. Yeah, we're not even at the halfway mark in terms of, like, videos, because, like I said, there'll be about 45 if I don't edit. So, again, just as, like, a quick reminder, if you have an opinion about the editing and you would prefer, like, more heavy editing, maybe cutting out chunks that, like, we've gone over multiple times, just let me know. I might actually try that editing method on the next video just to see how it works out. And if it works super well, then you guys can, like, judge based off of both, because you'll have both to look at since you haven't actually seen a super edited video by me yet. But anyway, thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next one, and until then, happy healing!